Yo, what is up, guys? I'm here with Mr. Jay Wildman.
What's up, y'all?
We just got back from Palm Springs, California, from the Ed Mylett event, and we saw his house.
It was incredible, dude.
Yeah, it was crazy. We got a lot of lessons, a lot of stuff that we felt was important to share with everybody, and we already shared a little bit back on the plane, but we figured it'd be cool to go over it all with all you guys and then with all of our friends. I mean, Jimmy and everybody's been asking, so yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it was, this was one of the events where time just purely stood still. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that Dakota and I really noticed was just that, like, we didn't even eat most of the time. I mean, what do we have? Oatmeal the last day, and during the thing, I mean, we didn't have lunch or dinner. Like, we ate at like 9 o'clock at night, and we weren't even, like, we were just so locked in.
Yeah,
I mean,
awesome.
Talk about how they started the event.
Yeah, actually, you know what? I would like to I'd like to start this podcast, or this this video with doing the same thing that they started. If you guys are okay with it. So we just want to start off in prayer, and that's exactly how they started the event. And I feel like it just allowed God to flow through everybody, and I hope that this does the same thing. Is just like allow God to speak through us, and hopefully just impact everybody's lives the way that like this event impacted ours. So, Father, I just want to thank you for the people that you place in our lives, and for the podcast, for the learning, for the opportunity for growth. I pray that you would help us to see the gifts that you've given us, and I pray that you would give us the strength and the wisdom to use them. The Bible talks about that you've given us gifts that you've placed for us in advance, and things that we need to walk into, and I pray that you would help us to do that. Give us the strength to follow you and do it for your glory, and to get the gifts that you have placed before us. Father, I pray for vision, for wisdom, for knowledge, and I pray that you would take our words and speak through us and penetrate the hearts of people, and that this would make an impact to love more, to grow bigger, to be better, and to grow closer to you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah, it was amazing, man. I love that they started off with prayer. Is like one of the few places that I feel like I've seen that happen. I mean, they did it at the $1 Million Mastermind too, which was really cool. A lot of people praying there, but yeah, this thing was a lot different. The people that were there were different. Everybody there, I was like, man, I can't even believe we're in this room. It was crazy. Sean Whalen was in the crowd with us, like
Carlos Reyes.
Yeah, Carlos Reyes. Like it was just ridiculous, and those are very faith-centered people too, which is really cool. It felt like God put us there for a reason, and yes. I really believe that God puts people in our lives for a reason, and I also believe that people or God puts podcasts. Like if you're listening to this right now, like there's probably a reason. Like God wanted you to hear this. So I always think about just purpose and why is God putting us here, and it definitely felt like we were where we were supposed to be. So
yeah, man, I totally agree. I think it just really attests to Ed Mylett's character too. I think all the speakers were just so gracious to have been there and to pour in. I mean, people like Brandon Bouchard, he's one of the most elite speakers in the world, and he was just giving so many praises to Ed, and one of the big things I thought from that was just your associations. Ed talked about that a lot, but who you truly do associate with yourself with really does matter. Your environment will dictate your future.
Yeah. One of my favorite things about Ed, I've just realized it actually whenever we got back, and I was telling Christian, I don't know if I told you, but he is 100% into his masculine energy. I mean, you can tell. I mean, he was just freaking like yelling, and then he's freaking flexing. I'm like, holy crap, dude, this guy is a freaking animal. And then he's so in touch with his feminine energy as well, to where he dude, he penetrated the depths of our souls like nobody I've ever seen do that. And the duality of having both is just it's truly a inspirational thing. And for me, I always think about, Jesus when I think about anybody who has that duality, because Jesus really is like, he was so powerful and so loving. So it's just like really cool to see characteristics of that in another human being. So yeah, that was my favorite thing about it, is like, man, like he really cares and loves and hits you deep. And then he also has this masculine energy. So it always feels like to have one, you have to cancel out the other. And that's not necessarily true. And he's just a true example of like, of that, of what's possible.
Yeah. And I think what was interesting is, you know, he talked about what he's really good at. And what he said was he looks for people's giftedness. He looks for their uniqueness in them. Yeah. And to go deeper with that, what he said he's really looking for is he's looking for Jesus in you. Yeah. And that was just beautiful. It's because we are created in God's image, and it's so hard to hear that nowadays. I mean, most people won't say it because there's a stigma, or, you know, social media, or, you know, just, but it's true, you know, like we are created in God's image, and the more you can get closer to the image that Jesus and God, you know, meant for you, like that's where you get to your real life. Yeah.
Well, I've noticed in my life too, and that's why I have this as my background. It actually says compliment people, magnify their strengths, not their weaknesses. So it's interesting to me that I always notice certain things about people, but I wouldn't share the good things. I wouldn't share the Jesus in them. I wouldn't share those giftedness that they have. I saw it, but I only wanted to let them know about like their opportunities. Like, hey, just so you know, you're messing up here. But I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been thinking about it just with the way that Ed speaks and with other people. They probably hear their weaknesses a lot more than what other people tell them their strengths are. And so that's what I always think about, is like, they probably hear the negatives, that they shouldn't follow their dreams. They probably hear that they are a jerk, they're mean, or whatever it is. But how often do you hear your giftedness from another human being? It's so rare. Yeah. So if I can tell them that, they're already going to hear their weaknesses and stuff. And like, if I see it, and then I'll let them know, and I'll try to do it in a gracious way. But at the same time, like, let's share their strengths and share the Jesus in them more, 100%. Because that's the most important thing. And that's the least amount of things that people hear and that we share.
Yeah, so, dude, I think one of the things Ed said was the world will rob you of your confidence. And, you know, really what you choose to focus on, what your subconscious will create more of it. So, yeah, I mean, we are so bred to focus on the negative. I mean, if you listen to the news, I mean, it's just negative, 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 negative. And really, that's how we're wired. But if you can switch to positive and focus on, like, what is going to lift you up, what is your uniqueness, what were you called to be on this earth, if you can focus on that and be around people that are pushing that all the time, like, dude, what do you want, how can you become more of you, you know, and in support of that, that's, you know, it's beautiful. Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to like not tell them their negatives, but at the same time, like, let's cover it with like their strengths, because they don't hear that very often. Then maybe give them one negative. And, you know, you talked about the world can change your confidence. And, you know, I always struggle with that, because I'm like, man, I am who I am, and the world is not going to change me. So like, I think about, it's not going to affect me. But at the same time, sometimes people have to borrow other people's confidence. Yeah. Like, I can lend my confidence to you. If I'm confident in you, how much more confident do you become that you can do it now? So true. And so sometimes you have to lend that confidence to another human being. And I feel like I definitely do that more than I do anything, is because I am so confident that anybody can accomplish anything that they want to. And, you know, that's another great point that Ed said. And I just want to remind you guys that you were meant to do something great with your life. And I believe that to the depths of my soul, that like God gave you a giftedness, and it is your obligation and your duty to do it. And I feel that whenever people don't do whatever their calling is, whatever they feel like their giftedness is, and they suppress it, that's where they get depression. That's where they get sad. That's where they get upset, because they're suppressing the giftedness that God gave them, that you're supposed to be using for His glory. And now you're suppressing that, and you're just going to like stay inside, like get in your shell, and like, you know, no, you were meant to do something great with your life. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, and one thing I love about Ed is he gives you permission to do so. Yeah. And most people will not do do you that justice, dude. Like, sometimes it's hard to bring forth it from yourself, especially if you're just around people that are telling you all the things you do wrong, living from a negative light. But it's okay. You deserve to live the life of your dreams. One of the things that Ed really talks about that I really admire and love is you are the one in your family. Mm-hmm. You are the transitional character in your family. You are the one that is changing your family tree forever. Yeah. And that is so beautiful, because I know that in our families, we are the ones.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been thinking about investing in real estate?
It's not like what you see on HGTV.
We created a course to show you how to really invest and create a profitable flipping and wholesaling business.
We show you where to find the money, how to find the deals, and how to negotiate the deals.
We go over live sales calls, including negotiations, scripts, role-playing, and so much more.
Everything that you need to know to flip houses is in this course. And if there's a video that we didn't make that you want, we'll make it for you.
This knowledge has made us well over $1 million, and it's available right now for $9.97. Click the link below.
Buy the course.
And I refuse to not live up to my duty that God has put me on this earth for.
Yeah. And it's not just monetary, it's not just building businesses. It's like, no, we're the ones that should be the people that are changing the emotions of our family, the ones that are helping them to navigate through what they're going through, the ones that can help them financially, spiritually, emotionally. Like, we're the ones who are going to help them. And that's what we're called to be. Like, it's very, honestly, it's very, like, sometimes it's a little bit daunting, but it's also like he gave us the strength and the power in order to do so. And now it's our obligation. And the biggest struggle that I see with that is to not get an ego over it either. You can't be like, oh man, like, I'm so gifted and I'm so blessed and all this other stuff. Like, it's okay to be grateful for it, but at the same time, I'm no different than anybody else. There is not a difference between me and anybody else who's struggling. There's not a difference between me and Ed Mylett. The only difference is what we've used our giftedness towards.
Yeah, and how long you've put in the work and how hard, and because I can't remember who said this, but it is a natural assumption that if you work twice as hard as somebody else, or work twice as smart, or have twice as many people, you are more likely to get results. You are more likely to get the fruits of your labor than somebody who doesn't. One of the things that you talked about not being much different than Ed Mylett, it's so true. We're all the same. I mean, we're all human. We're all connected. We all have faults. We all have greatness. One of the things Ed Mylett said, I mean, that dude is almost a billionaire. I mean, he is, he's just truly changing the world. But he said, I am below average in almost everything, like below average in most things. And look what he's been able to create, because he never sold his will to win. Yeah. He talked about that a lot. Yep. Don't sell your will to win.
Yeah. It's funny because when I think about it, there's 2 points that you made there. One is that we're all the same, and it's so interesting how that's true. We're all same, we're all connected, but we're all so unique.
So unique.
We are all different too. Like, it's crazy, the duality in everything in life. There's such a duality in absolutely everything. And then, the other thing that I was talking to a Christian about is like, man, I am not that smart. Like, I literally am not. I swear. And when I listen to that guy reading books, when I talk to Gerard, when I talk to these people there, I'm like, man, these guys are way more intelligent than me.
So intelligent, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, but the cool thing is, like, I can tell that Ed is not the most intelligent guy either, but look at what he's accomplished because he's using the giftedness that he does have. So it's interesting how we're all connected, but we're all so unique, and like, we've got gifts for sure.
I want to point to what you said earlier too, because I really admire it. How you said it's sometimes you need to lend confidence, like if you lend your confidence to somebody else, it gives them permission or allows them to step into that, because, if you didn't come from that, sometimes you don't have it yet. You have it in you, but it hasn't been expressed. Exactly. And one of the things, I can't remember, I think Erwin said it, but encourage, the root meaning of that word is to give courage to someone. And it's truly just focusing on how can you help lift somebody up instead of tear them down. So if you give them courage, encourage them, right? Focus on their giftedness, focus on their uniqueness. I really love that. So I commend you for that.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, so first thing that I have in my notes is, it's interesting how when we were comparing notes, we did write a lot of the same stuff. That was crazy. But the first thing that I had is exceed expectations. And, you know, I hear a lot of people talking about that. And then it's always like exceed expectations for what the other people expect from you, like in a service, like, man, I'm going to go in above and beyond. But Ed went another level from that. Exceed expectation in every area of your life. And that's literally the book, The Power of One More, you know, like doing one more, saying one more, I love you, saying, you know, every single area though, like, so he does it in his relationships. He does it in his relationships with his family. He does it in the gym, other people, and yourself. Exceed your own expectations. So I've been trying to do that, honestly, every single time. Like, I'm only supposed to work out 5 days in the gym. I worked out 6, and I've been doing that because I'm like, man, I'm going to exceed what I want to do. And that's something that I talked to actually you and Ryan about, is like, lower your bar for what you think. That way you're going to hit it every time. You build self-confidence, and then guess what? You can always exceed it. And now guess what? You feel even better. You have, like, he called it superhuman confidence.
Yeah.
So exceeding your expectations is okay. You can lower the bar a little bit, then exceed it. That way you can feel better about what you accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's one thing that I've noticed in my life is, again, like, I will, and you know, I'm sure there's people in here that do it as well, but you know, you set the bar so high that, you know, it sounds great, you know, because if you think of like 10x, like, you know, oh, my goal is to make 100,000. Why not make it 1 million?
Yep.
And even if you don't hit the 1 million, if you still made 300,000 or 400,000, you made way more than you thought you could.
Yep.
So I mean, it's a duality, right? Because you want to stretch, you want to push, but if you set your entire life up like that, you're setting yourself up to fail, not to win. And you know, you need to set yourself up to win, because then you build confidence and reassurance that you will do what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you continue to fail, even if you're setting these big goals, you will never feel fulfilled. You'll never feel happy. You won't build that self-confidence, because it's all the way that you frame it in your mind too. But it's very hard to frame it if you keep not doing the things that you told yourself you're going to do. If you continue to do that, it's very hard to frame it in your mind that you're still winning. It's very difficult. Even if you are winning, even if you have a great family, even if you have a big business, even if you have all these things, you are winning, but you're still not feeling it because you set yourself up to fail. It's crazy how it's the way that you frame it in your mind. And I think it's way easier to frame it in your mind if you just do what you say you're going to do, and then you do a little bit more, because you can always do more.
Yeah, I think there's 2 things that would be really good for us to touch into based on that. 2 things that Ed said were, what do successful people have? And then he broke down confidence. And one of the big things, and this was expressed so well during the Power One More event, number 1 for confidence is faith. Because you're tapping into abundance. You know, if you have God at the center of your life, you know, like, it's beautiful. The second was intention. I intend to make a difference, not my abilities. What is your intention? And third was association. Who am I around? Those were the 3 pieces of confidence that he broke down. And again, back into what you were saying, you know, if you keep your promises that you make to yourself, that's how you continue to build confidence. But if you want superhuman confidence, like you described, you use the power of one more. And that's 1 more rep in the gym, 1 more relationship, 1 more sales call, whatever it is, whatever in your life, do 1 more, exceed your own expectations, and do that over a consistent period of time, and you will build confidence.
Yeah.
One of the beautiful things that he said too was, goals without changing my standards is the equivalent of wishing. And it's so true. Ed Mylett talks a lot about, and I know you are very passionate about this, your internal thermostat. Touch on that for a second.
Yeah, so Ed always talks about your internal thermostat, about where you believe, who you believe that you are. You will never exceed who you believe that you are. And I think I actually have that. But if you think that, you know, oh man, I'm this 160-pound person, and then you get to 180, you will go back down there. Same thing if you believe that you're this overweight, you know, person, and that's who you believe that you are. Even when you go on a diet and you start to lose that weight, if you don't believe that you're this fit person, you're on a diet, you will go back to wherever you're at. So it's not what your goals are, it's actually who you believe that you are. And you will always go back to that. Same thing with money. If you are like, man, if you start to save up some money, but you don't believe that you're worth it, you will self-sabotage yourself. Same thing whenever you're doing not so great. If you start to like, oh man, I'm spending too much money, I need to get back to where I was at, you will find a way to get back to where you're at, to where you're making the same money that you're making before, because now it's what you believe that you're worth. You will never exceed what you believe that you're worth. And yeah, so the real question is, how do you raise that internal thermostat? That's the most important question. And Ed goes over it in the book, but I mean, you touched on it, is, obviously faith, intention, and association. And the funny thing is, he said association is the lowest, which I thought was interesting, because everybody thinks association is the highest. I just got to get around these people. I got to get around these people. I got to get around these people. Getting around those people, if you are in that lower temperature, and let's just say they're 100 degrees and you're at the 50 degree, you will actually feel out of place so much that you got to get out of there. You're going to be like, oh gosh, I don't belong here. And you're going to actually like leave. Or the people at the 100 degrees, they'll be like, man, like they will try to pour into you, but if you like spew too much negativity, they have to get away from you, because then you're trying to lower their temperature. So association is probably the lowest of these, and I feel like it's the most common that people think is the way to do it. But yeah, I'd say faith is so important. What you talked about is God being at the center, I think that is obviously the most important. Like if your worth is placed on anything other than your faith in, or like how God sees you,
it's fleeting.
Yeah, I mean, it will go away no matter what. It will go away, even if you set on your intentions. Because what happens if your intentions are not good now? If you set it on money, what happens when the money goes away? If you set it on relationships, what happens when the relationship goes away? If you set it on your health, what happens when your health goes away? But if you set it on how God sees you and who God is, then like that's never going away. Never. Like that's going to be eternal. And I describe this a lot. I don't know if I've told you the story at all, but I feel like, just in my relationships lately, it's crazy how whenever something bad happens, it kind of makes you more nervous. And I described it, I had an analogy about the poker. Did I tell you this?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the way that I viewed my relationship and my first marriage was like, okay, that was the first time I ever put all my chips in. I put all my chips in. I was all in. I'm like, all right, hey, I'm going all in. And even that, like, it was all in for me at the time, but even now I'm like, okay, maybe I could have done more. But anyway, I gave it more than anything I've ever given. And I got broken. I got all my chips taken. And I was like, man, that was bad. I will never do that again. I will never push all my chips in. I'll never be that vulnerable. I'll never leave myself that open. Yeah. And so then, like, you get another hand, and then you got your chips back again. You start to build them up. You start to stack them, get some little wins. And it's interesting how hard it is to put those chips back in whenever you got them all taken. And even if you somehow muster up the strength to do it, still in the back of your head, oh man, you know what happened last time. Should you be doing this? And the only way that I've thought of, like, because I thought of that analogy, and then I thought later, I was like, you know what? Like, what if I had infinite chips? And I never thought about that, but I'm like, man, if I can tap into God's love and like not needing approval or anything, like, I can get infinite chips. And so that was huge for me. And yeah, I just thought that hopefully that helps whoever's struggling, is like, man, like tap into the love of God and you can get infinite chips. I've not fully like felt it, but I'm definitely like, I'm working to get there and actually start to feel this stuff. But
pulling data lists like vacant houses, mortgage foreclosures, and tax delinquent properties is important to direct-to-seller marketing.
Batch Leads is the main platform where we store our sellers' data and skip trace owners for their phone numbers, emails, and addresses.
On other platforms, you end up having to pay twice for the same contact if you've already skip traced it. My favorite thing about Batch Leads is that if you skip traced a contact once, you never have to pay for that contact again.
Batch Leads has SMS texting campaigns, direct mail marketing, and Driving for Dollars app integrated in a simple-to-use interface.
Click the link below and try Batch Leads today.
Dude, yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, as I've been self-employed, I'm realizing that the most important relationship I have in my life is the one with God, because it is ever forgiving. It's truly unlimited, as you spoke of, the unlimited chips. It's a lot of us have limiting beliefs, that we've gotten from our childhood. You can continue to form new ones as you go through life, as traumatic things happen to you, or things don't go the way you expected. And a lot of us that I've talked to, a lot of people, they have this need to prove themselves. And when you try to prove yourself by having more money, having more relationships, having wealth, whatever, it's all fleeting. Eventually it all goes away, and it's never enough. And so instead of trying to prove yourself, just have the relationship with God and become more of who he wants you to be. And one thing Ben Newman said was, if you do your best, there's nothing more that you need to offer, man. Like, if at the end of the day, if you looked in the mirror and you can proudly say, I did my best today, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I wanted to speak on what you were saying too. Just, when you put all the chips in and you lost them, that affected your certainty. Ed Mylett brought up a wonderful story of back when he was in financial services and he was basically homeless. He was 3 months behind on rent, had been foreclosed on. They were showering in an outdoor shower. He could only shower like once a day.
Holding up the towel.
He had to hold up a towel for his wife while he showered outside, and then they had to switch, and he could have been broken at any point and given up, but he refused to sell his will to win, which was a beautiful piece. He went to a sales, a prospect, and he was in a suit, dressed up, and he told us a story. He was fighting to feed his family. He was trying to sell this policy, and the guy said, well, hey, if you race my son and you win. Ed was like 25, 26 at the time. His son was like 19 or 20 and track star, and Ed did it because he was not going to lose his will with his family. Like, he was going to feed his family.
Yeah, I said I'll do anything for my family.
Anything for my family. Like, who in your life are you willing to fight for? Not only just yourself, but who in your life are you willing to fight for? He lost that race. He fell and scraped himself up and got hurt and didn't sell the policy. And it affected his certainty just a little bit. And from that, the next day he had another sales thing, and
he's selling life insurance, by the way.
Life insurance, yes.
Yep.
And it was like a dentist, I think it was, right? It was somebody that had some wealth, and his wife was 8 months pregnant, and he just, right when it came to a little objection, like, okay, we'll come back on Monday, because he had them pretty much sold, but he gave a very typical objection in the industry. Well, this all sounds good. Why don't you come back on Monday? It was like a Friday. And that weekend, they got in a car wreck from some aggressive teen that was swerving in the highway.
A couple hours later, he said.
Couple hours later. And it, so they crashed, and the husband and I believe the wife were both killed, and the baby made it, right?
Yeah, she was pregnant with the baby.
She was pregnant, 8 months pregnant. And because he didn't follow through, because he lost just a little bit of certainty, he allowed his certainty to be affected. He, that's something that he'll carry with him for the rest of his life. He's like, even every time that I hear a baby cry, like, I think of that baby and the time in my life where I allowed my certainty to be affected just slightly.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen whenever you don't speak what you believe is right. And that's the interesting thing that, that's the biggest thing that I think of is like, man, if you're not certain, if you're not confident, if you're not true to who you are, you don't know what you're affecting by not doing that. I think back to like always thinking about the Bible and how it talks about like he already predestined all of these certain things before us, but we still have choice. We still have free will. So it's so interesting how I feel like every decision, this is a question that I ask myself a lot, is is this getting me closer to who God called me to be? And I try to really like lean into that whenever I'm making decisions on, should I say this to that person? Should I let them know what, like, you know, and I get nervous and I get fearful because I'm scared of judgment, but you never know how that's going to affect their life. You know, if you really believe that you're helping them, doing what's best for them, getting them a life insurance policy, whatever it is that you're doing, if you believe that you're truly helping them, then you should probably speak up. And you're, again, doing yourself and them and God a disservice by you withholding your light. You're dimming your light and basically putting a lampshade over your light. And that is not who we're called to be.
Nope. Nobody wins if you play small.
Yeah.
Nobody wins. Your family doesn't win. You don't win. And you have no idea the ripple effect of what you do. You know, like this is not us playing small. This is us taking an investment that we put our time, our money into. We each of us bought 250 books just to be there for one day. Yeah. And it was magical. I mean, that's how you described it. And it truly was magical. It was like time really stood still because of just the people you're around. And, you know, I know I definitely feel the duty, and I know you do too. That's why we're here talking about all this. But we didn't want to not bring this back to the people we love and care about. And whoever watches this, you know, take the nuggets that serve you in your life and change the world with it. That's one thing Ed Mylett really talked about, is every single one of you can change the world.
Yeah. And I 100% believe that. And you never know who it's going to be, or the ripple effect that, like you talked about and that Ed talks about and that everybody should talk about, is the ripple effect. I mean, obviously, like, you know, it's Jesus, and look at, like, you know, he was God, but, you know, at the same time, when you look at the ripple effect of every person that he affects and the lives that he changes, like, that's what we're called to do, is go share that message and be the ripple effect and continue to be that. One other thing that I really, really liked that Ed always says, and that I have to always remember, is people are always feeling something. And wouldn't you like to have an influence on what they're actually feeling? If you don't go up and talk to anybody, share anything, share about what you believe, and you remain silent, you withhold what you're feeling, they're still feeling something about you. They're still going to feel a certain way. It's just all made up in their head, instead of now actually like being on who you are, how authentic you are. They're still making up a story and they're still feeling a certain way. So, yeah, the question that I ask now is, what do you want them to feel whenever you're talking to them? And, you know, for me, I want them to feel loved, you know? Yeah. Like, that's the most important thing, is that I want them to feel loved more than anything. And I feel that I do a bad job at that a lot of times, honestly. And it's something that I'm really working on. But yeah, that's my biggest desire. And again, a lot of times I'm speaking for myself here. But I withhold it. I withhold it so much. It's not that I don't feel it, it's that I suppress it for some reason. And man, it's just crazy that we do that. We do that with our kids. We do that with our friends. We do that with our, like, parents. We suppress the love that we feel. And a lot of times it's generational, you know, and that's why we talked about earlier. You said, you're the one in your family. We're the ones that are going to break this mold. They're like, we're going to love more, and we're going to show other people how to love in our family, and that they feel that love. And hopefully we can just break that generational curse and, like, kind of turn everybody around where we can love more.
Yeah. Dude, man, I just got goosebumps because I remember sending a video to you and some other people. They broke down how many ancestors you need to have in order for you to even exist today. Going back 9 generations, 9 great-grandparents, you need 4,092 ancestors for you to even be who you are today, to even have the privilege of existing right now. And if you just think about that for a moment, how many struggles did they have to go through? How many laughs did they experience? How many moments of love? How many moments of joy? What did they have to do in their lives? And, you know, we live in a time now where we have so many privileges that are afforded to us, running plumbing, you know, heating in buildings, the ability to travel anywhere in the world anytime, the ability to access anybody anytime. I mean, you know, if you look back when people didn't even have indoor plumbing, you know, like, so many people have had to go through so many struggles just for us to even exist today. One of the speakers, I think it was Ben Newman, he talked about his was his great grandfather or somewhere down his lineage during World War II. He was a shoe cobbler, And he literally took the soles of shoes and hollowed them out and put gold German coins in them. And so and he told his family, when you board the boat to go to America, to the land of freedom, bust open the soles, rip the soles open, and use that and trade that for money to go build a life. And that same grandfather in that lineage died like the day or the day before that they went on the boat to America. And if he wouldn't have done that, if he wasn't the one in his family at that time, he wouldn't have been there today. And he dropped so much value. I mean, just so much beautiful messages. And you don't know how important what you're doing is until it's done. It's just, we would not be here today if it weren't for so many people that fought through so many adversities. We truly do have a duty to be everything that we can be in God's light and image.
Yeah.
Are you letting deals fall through the cracks because you don't have good systems in place?
We've been there before, and honestly, we've tried several different CRMs, and RE Simply has been the absolute best.
RE Simply tracks your KPIs, does automatic follow-ups for you, and even records incoming phone calls.
The system is very easy to use, and honestly, it has more features than we even know what to do with.
If you're looking for a great CRM, try RE Simply today.
Click the link in the description below.
Check it out now.
And I always think about there's a saying, I can't remember the exact saying, but basically it's like, hard times create strong people and strong times create weak people. And I feel like good times create weak people. And I definitely think that we are getting to that. We're such good times, good times. And I definitely think that it's kind of creating weak people. One other thing that I wanted to add to what we were talking about earlier, that I was looking at my notes, and says, you will never exceed what you believe you are worth. We can give you all the tactics and it won't help. And I 100% believe this. And I didn't believe this before, which is funny. I used to be like, no, dude, stop with all this woo-woo crap. Don't talk about like who I need to be, my past trauma. Tell me how to freaking do it. Yeah. Tell me how to do this. I will do whatever it takes. I'll do this. I'll do that. The funny thing is, you have to believe that you can actually do whatever it is that you're going after. Because if you don't believe it, you won't achieve it. There's no question to that. But then also, like, you have to believe that you're worth it. You have to go internal and go into this mindset more than anything. Like, mindset is so much more important than anybody gives it credit for. It is the most important thing. If you give all the tactics, like, Tony and I both talk about this a lot, and I'm always like, man, like, I don't want to give them the tactics because it's not what they need. They need to go back, and they have a self-confidence issue to where they don't believe that they can achieve this thing. So us giving them the tactics is actually just going to continue to hurt them, because then they're going to go try to do the tactics. Then they're going to be like, oh man, these tactics didn't work, and it's actually a self-confidence issue. It's a lot deeper of an issue. So I just think it's so important to realize that you need to figure out what you believe that you are and who you believe that you are, and go into the mindset before you try to go out there and be like, okay, just give me the tactics.
So, and with that, the other thing I wanted to touch back on was, what do successful people have in common? And it was 4 things that Ed broke down. One, they believe that they deserve to win. They believe it, just like you talked about. It's a belief. It's a belief and a mindset about who you are as a human being. And again, if you're trying to tap in from all these temporary things like my worth, my value, my ability, oh, I didn't achieve this the way I wanted, tap into it from God, because that is unlimited. That is a true abundance. Number 2 was fear of not achieving their potential. Now, and one of the things you wanted to clarify with that is, you only use it in healthy doses, because even at Ed Mylett's level, he's almost a billionaire. He owns an island, 3 mega mansions, private jets. I mean, really living a ultra luxury life, and all of it's paid off. He literally told us that at the, he's like, I own all this free and clear. And that's not a flex. It's just inspirational. It's how you frame it, because you can live life as a victim, that everything happens to you, not for you, or you can live from a place of responsible. I am responsible, and what I do will dictate my results, right?
Yeah.
So even at Ed Mylett's level, he is still afraid to lose it all. and you need to have a memory of, when you come from having to shower and hold up a towel outside for your wife to shower and then switch turns. He literally said, there's so many days where I turn on the shower and I'm just so thankful that the water comes out of the dang faucet.
Yeah.
And this man is worth almost $1 billion. And that's imperceivable to some people where they are in their lives. Number 3 was an unusual abundance of emotional control. One of the examples that he used was wonderful, was Steph Curry. Shout out to Steph. But what he said was, he could be 0 for 8 shots and be right down to the final last seconds and still have the emotional control to know that he's going to make that final shot. And he does it. I don't know who's all seen the video, but he will take a shot, then just start running the other way because he knows he made it. He doesn't give himself the option. And it's that emotional control, especially over a long period of time, consistently, that really will build the will to win. And number 4 was be an incredible visualizer. Some of the most successful people in the world, they visualize where they're going. One of the things Erwin said during the event was, we are not static beings. It's not who we are now, it's who we are becoming. We are dynamic. We are ever changing. And it just goes that there's 2 true states in life. There's growth and decay. We could say this table is stable, it's comfortable, right? We all want to get to comfortable, but comfortable is a fallacy. Comfortable doesn't exist. You're either growing or you're dying.
Yep. Amen.
So,
yeah, and I want to dig into to faith a little bit more, just because that he talked a lot about faith and how much confidence that will help you to get if you use it truly from the Bible. Because I feel like this is something that might make some people upset, but it is what it is. It's the truth, or at least my truth. I feel like a lot of times Christians tear other people down. Or other Christians, because they're not fulfilling their expectation of what a good Christian looks like. You're not meeting what I think you should look like. And I feel like that's what Jesus fought against. We should be trying to live for God, not living for the other people that we're trying to impress in the church. And so I just think that is so important, because, I truly believe that faith does give you unlimited confidence and confidence in and hope. It's just it's the most important thing. But if you're getting that from your pastor, or you're caring about how other people view you, then that's going to definitely hurt you. And one other thing they talked about, you're probably writing it, hope.
Literally writing it right now.
Yeah. As soon as I said the word, I was like, yep, I know where this is going. But hope is such an interesting thing too, that they talked about at the event, was hope can only be in the future. And I was like, man, that is so impactful. Hope can only be in the future. It can't be in the past. And so that should give you confidence, hope should give you confidence for what's to come. But one thing that he said, and we're going to go really deep into this. He said, basically asking God, God, tell me about me. That's what he said. I did not align with the way that he phrased that question. Tell me about me. Hey, I don't care about me. That's not what I'm interested in. But I do think it's valuable to ask God, how do you see me, God? And look at yourself from that perspective. How does God see you? And why are you judging yourself when God's not judging you like that? God does not see you the way that you're putting your own self-worth. And that's not the way that God sees you. Yeah. So I think that is an important question to ask yourself. And I hope that you guys give yourself time to really think about that. How do you see me, Lord? And do you align with how he does see you? And if not, why? And try to really find out how you can see yourself the way that God sees you. Because he loves you and you're loved. So I think that's very important to ask yourself that question.
I think one of the beautiful things, 2 exercises that kind of are spinning in my mind off of that, write down the people in your life that matter the most to you, and tell them who they are, not who they are not. So go use this as an opportunity right now. Go write down the people in your life that mean truly the most to you in your life, and then go tell them about them. Tell them all the beautiful things about them, their uniqueness. Tell them the things that they really matter to them, like
that you admire about them.
That you admire, yeah, that's what I meant to say. And then another really wonderful exercise is tonight, before you go to bed, pray with God, be there with God, and take 5 minutes with God and yourself, and just say, Father, tell me how you view me, tell me how you see me, and just allow it to flow through you.
Yeah,
and remember it.
I want to give some more context to how you can do that, because I think that's a great exercise, and that's something that they told us to do, is like write down all of the people that you've been neglecting to do that with. And something that he talked about was, don't just give people these flattery comments like, oh, you're great, you're awesome, you're a beast.
How they're being.
Yeah, so, or you're amazing because.
Yeah.
And tell them why. And I really challenge you to do that with the people that you love, is, hey, you're awesome because of these things. And you can do that in situations, or you can do that because of who they are. And yeah, I think that's very important, to let people know their giftedness and why you see that in them, because, people hear they're awesome and all this stuff all the time. That's fleeting. That it's very meaningless. But if you let them know why you see them like that, and it's coming from the heart, they're gonna know. They're gonna feel that, and they're like, "Yep, I know that to be true." And they're just it will change who they are. And again, you will be lending them confidence, because they're gonna automatically know that about themselves. And one other thing that Ed talked about that I think is one of the most important things that I struggle with, and that I'm sure that a lot of other people struggle with, is as soon as you walk in the door, stop, give yourself some time to actually go and greet your kids, greet your wife, greet your significant other, whoever's there. Because the first thing that we always do is like, man, I'm tired, I just want to go in there. Or you're on your phone, you're still on the phone conversation or something. And like what Ed talked about was, every single time that he comes in, he's like, spends 5 minutes with his kids or whoever, and just says, hey, tell me about the best parts of your day. Or you could use the exercise that Jordan talked about. Hey, let me tell you about you. And just spend 5 minutes. And you think it's, we were talking about this actually before when we were off camera, but you think that this stuff is going to get old. You think, oh, if I keep doing this, or at least I think about that. I'm like, man, does this ever get old where I get like stagnant? I don't want to do this anymore as it gets routine, or like, will the nostalgia go away? And it's like, I don't think so. I don't think that will ever get old, of you connecting with other humans and loving them. I've never gotten tired of that. That is the only thing that I feel that I have never had enough of. I've never gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, this is not fulfilling anymore. I've never felt that. Every time that I've connected, I've loved, and I've encouraged, I want more. And Ed talks about analogy a lot. We think that, sometimes having bliss or whatever, we're going to get tired of it. But it's like eating a steak. Whenever you have just the best steak ever and you have a bite, that greatness, that joy that you feel whenever you take a bite of that juicy steak, you know what that does? That makes you want more of that steak. And so that's the interesting thing that I think it is. Yeah, exactly. So I think it's interesting how you want more, and like whenever you get that love and that feeling of connection, it's infectious, and you want way more of it. And I don't think you'll ever get tired of it. So yeah, I would challenge you guys to turn off your phone before you go in. It's 5 minutes. You can spend 5 minutes with each person and ask them the best parts of their day and tell them that you love them. And I know it'll make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, it was shout out to Carlos Reyes, because he definitely mentioned that as well. But when we went through the men's leadership seminar, one other way that they talked about it is level your waters. Like if you think of a canal, the only way that the boat gets across the canal is because the waters are leveled. So if you're super high, pissed off from something that happened during your day, had a really bad day at work, or something bad happened, you have to be cognizant of what energy you're bringing into your home, to your relationships. So level your waters, and then go in with grace and give love, because that's what people will remember is how you made them feel. Not even necessarily what you say. One of the things that Ed said, the two things that are motivators in life are your dreams and other people. Well, we just talked a lot about it was other people, because when you first think about it, well, I'm doing all this for other people. Well, you know, like if you're truly helping people in connection, I mean, connection is one of the values that we really need as human beings, which Brandon Bouchard talked about. I'm sure we'll get to at some point, but connection with other people and, you know, who are you fighting for? I think is a big one with other people. If you think of your children, your significant other, all the people in your family, your loved ones around you, friends, you know, like, you truly have a duty to live in greatness and live into the image of what God has planned for you, because then you'll be able to give it to everyone. And your dreams, don't sacrifice your dreams. You cannot do that, because when you play small, no one wins. You cost everyone when you play small. You're dimming your inner light, as Dakota mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I feel like I was actually thinking about this morning. I feel like school in general, just teachers, I was listening to NF and he talks about like chasing his dreams and what teachers thought of him, and like, you know, like just like, dude, you like told him he's going to be a rapper and stuff. And he's like, yeah, all right, like get realistic. That's what we always hear. We hear that from our parents. We hear that from other people. We hear that from the teachers, specifically, mostly the teachers. And man, like, don't let anybody ever take your dreams, because like those are there for a reason. And I always go back to this quote that I heard at 10X actually, and it just made the biggest impact on my life is, now I just lost it, but you wouldn't have the dream in your heart if you didn't already have what it takes to make it happen.
Yeah, it's so good.
And I truly believe that. It's like God placed that there for a reason. And that is what I mean when you feel that burning desire to do something. Like you can do a lot of good. And that's what I was thinking about is like, if you have that burning passion and you have good intentions, which we're going to talk about next, if you have good intentions, it is your obligation, your duty to give that and spread that to as many people as possible. If like, we always think about, oh man, that I'm going to be seen as like this person who's going to be recognized and it's all about me and stuff. No, it's about loving other people. It's about helping as many people as possible. If you're truly helping people and loving people, how much more can you do that? Shouldn't you do that on as massive of a scale as you possibly can? Isn't that what Jesus called us to do whenever he said go out and actually talk to people? Like, hey, you should go out and spread this word. That's what we're called to do. And I feel that a lot of people, they want to stay inside. They want to be a good Christian, and they just want to sit inside and read their Bible all day. That's not what you're called to do. And I really believe that you are called to love as big of a scale as possible, not for your own glory. And like, that's the hard part, is trying to balance that of like, hey, it's not me. This is God in me. This is Jesus in me. It's a hard line, but if you can really, I wouldn't even worry so much about getting over there, because once you do, God will humble you. So go and love as much as you possibly can. But the next thing I want to talk about is just like going really in depth in intentions, which you talked about. Do you have notes on your intentions?
I gotta find them.
All right. So
go ahead.
Give yourself credit for your intentions. And, we talked a little bit about this, but I really think about this a lot. Is like, I'm definitely not the smartest. I'm not the greatest at anything. But I know my intentions, and I really need to give yourself or give myself credit for what I intend to do. Like, what are your intentions? Why are you doing what you're doing? Whenever you go and speak, whenever you go and do anything, like, are you intending to love, help the other person? Because again, whenever I was telling people the negative things about them, my intentions were still good. So like, I need to give myself credit for that. I wasn't trying to hurt them. I wasn't trying to manipulate them or anything. I was literally just trying to say, hey, I see a weakness, and I was literally trying to help them. So give yourself credit for your intentions. And then there's always effective and more effective, but your confidence can come from your intentions, not the result. Because every time that your intentions comes from your results, then whenever the results don't meet that, now you lose self-confidence. And that's an external thing that you can't control, but you can control is your intentions every single time. You can control what you intend to do in this world. You can control what you're trying to do, and give yourself credit for it.
And if you pull your intentions from your faith, again, because if you're just trying to link your confidence based on your ability, or what you have, that's, again, all fleeting and it's all temporary. It's all just flesh, right? But if you can pull your intention from God, God intended us to spread the message, to live in his image. That's truly unlimited.
Yep. And that's what I have next, actually, is what you talked about. Is not my ability to do it. Because I'm judging it all the time then. If it's about my ability, now all I'm doing is looking at, am I doing this right? Am I doing this correctly? How good am I doing this? It's not about how good you are, how well you speak, how powerful you are, how strong you are. It's about your intentions and what you're trying to do. So remember that in every situation, you're always like, you know what? Somebody better qualified will come along and do this. Somebody else will do this podcast. Somebody else will love this person. Somebody else will go and give to this charity. Somebody else will do this. And it's like what I have to give doesn't make that big of a difference. And that reminds me of the story about the woman who gave, just the smallest amount. That is enough. Like, whatever God has given you, like, that is enough. He's given you the gift, and that is, your intention should be to give that to other people. So yeah, I always think about this, and I really struggle with this, honestly, is like linking my worth to my abilities. I link so much, and because honestly, like I am very good at a lot of things, and I link my self-worth to what I'm good at. But what happens when it all goes away? Because it will. Everything that I'm good at will go away. I'm going to die, so obviously everything's going to go away other than like my soul. But, my physical health, my abilities to move, my ability to think, all of this goes away. And so if I link my abilities to that, even if they're great, it's still fleeting. It's still going to go away. It's very important to remember that no matter how great you are at anything, don't link your self-worth to that. Even if you're the best, just don't link it, because it will go away.
Yeah. One of the things they talked about a lot later on, we're just literally still talking about what Ed Mylett talked about in this. Like, there's so many speakers.
I don't know if we're going to be able to have time for all of them.
It's so good. This could be a 2 or 3 part series, but the tailwind, right? So past results will not dictate future success. Just because you've killed it in one area of your life, it does not guarantee that it's going to continue. If you stop doing the things that got you to where you're at, there's no guarantee of it continuing. So if you got a 6-pack, but then your internal thermostat was, I'm still an overweight person, and then you stop doing what got you to the 6-pack, guess what? You're going to gain weight. And that's in every aspect of life. If you stop showing up in your relationships, like if you stop in the beginning when you're in a relationship, everything's new and fresh, and you do the cool things that make them feel special. You give them cute little gifts. You write them notes. You do all the things that show you your uniqueness and your appreciation for them. If you stop doing those things, what do you think's going to happen? The relationship will die.
Yeah,
it has the opportunity to. Anyways, you cannot dictate future successes on past results.
No, I definitely think it will. I mean, you say, like, if you're not trying, if you're not actively putting in any effort, I think it will die. It does not matter how great it is, how awesome the person is, it will die. Anything that you're doing, again, like you talked about earlier, if you're not growing, you're dying. It will. If you're not feeding that, it will die. And the same thing, this is one of the most common things in the Bible too, is faith without works is dead. And that's the same thing in faith. If you're not actively feeding your faith is dead. It doesn't mean that you're going to hell, doesn't mean that you're not saved, but your faith is dead because you're not growing it. So it's very important to remember that no matter what, you're feeding or you're growing or you're dying in every single area. You're either feeding it or you're killing it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, faith without works is dead. That's just beautiful. I mean, it's great for us.
Straight out of the Bible.
It's well, I mean, the Bible is just full of so many wonderful parables. It's all so intricately laid together. It is truly the book, right? I mean, but we do live in a time where, it's great to talk about things. Like, even look how the whole Ukraine situation, everybody's talking about it, but what are you doing? How are you putting God's image and everything into work? How are you putting into play?
Yep.
That's how I look at it. Man, so much. Like, when we go on to intention, Dr. Dyer, he was a wonderful mind that Ed Mylett, that was his inspiration, one of his inspirations. He wrote the book, The Power of Intention. So if you really want to have a deep dive into intention and find out truly what your intentions are, that would be a good starter place. So
Love it. Yeah, the last
So
one
much.
that we'll want to dig in a little bit into, the only thing that I have for association was he knew what he could do with the help of other people. So, I find that so interesting that it's always the dichotomy of like that balance, because like you also have to have the self-confidence to know what you can do, but also you need other people. And so like that it's interesting how with the help of other people, you know what you can accomplish. And so then the question is, how do you get around those other people? And a lot of times it's by like giving without expectation.
Yes.
Like trying to find a way to benefit their life without any expectation, because then you can't get hurt. You can't be like, oh man, I gave them all this stuff. It's a mindset thing. But yeah, that was the only thing that I really had for association. And of course, like what you talked about, which honestly probably resonates deeper with me than anything else that I've ever heard, is that fear of not achieving their potential.
Yeah.
And it's not so much my potential. I guess it is my potential. It's like, it's the works that God set before me to go into. The fear of not actually being everything that God created me. Like Ed talks about this a lot too, honestly.
Yeah, and he says it beautifully.
Yeah. But I resonate with it so much. I feel it like so deep. And that was what we were talking about before too, is like that the quote on my wall. And honestly, let me see if I can actually pull it up really quickly, and I want to read it because I actually looked at it yesterday, and every time that I read this, honestly, like it almost makes me cry. So, because it resonates that deep with me. But when I stand before God at the end of my life, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left, and I could say like, I used everything that you gave me. And so for me, like that is the biggest motivator that I have in my entire life, is that like I want to be everything that I was created to be, and that fear of not achieving that like drives me more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think it's beautiful. He talks about you'll have two selves at the end of your life. You know, when you're in front of God, you're at the gates. You'll have the self that says, dude, you never became me. Look what you could have been. Look what you could have had. Look at the relationships you could have had in your life. Why didn't you become me? Mm-hmm. And then you have to live with that eternally. Mm-hmm. You know, we're here for such a small moment, and all of these successful people that spoke, it just all comes back to time. I mean, time is the one thing that we have so little of, and we have no idea how much we truly have. That's why you have a responsibility to give it your all every single day, because if you don't, that's the cost. You get to live with what you could have been. You get to live with regret at the end of your life, potentially dying alone. Like the costs of playing small are so great, but in the moment they seem so temporary, and you know, like I'd rather be comfortable. It's like, no, that is not your duty. Your duty is to go all out, all in. Because on the other side, you get to see the version of yourself where, dude, you fought so hard. You gave it everything you could, and you became me. You became exactly what God meant for me to become. And you get to live with that for eternity. And the ripple effect of what that inspires other people to do. I mean, I said this once, like, if you don't put out in the world, if you don't show up, that's you being lazy. That's you taking. That's you taking from who you were meant to be. That's you not. That's you taking for granted what God has given you, and that's not helping anyone.
And you're taking from them.
You're taking from them.
Yeah, you're taking from the other person.
Truly, it's just you being lazy, and I, you know, like it might sound abrasive or whatever, but we truly have a duty to give everything we can, and I think I really admire the way that you put that.
Yeah. And honestly, stop, like something else that they said that we talked about earlier that I want to reiterate is stop suppressing your uniqueness. And I had to tell myself this, like, stop suppressing my uniqueness. Dude, it's so crazy. Like, I would not work out hardest in the gym because I was scared about how people were going to judge me if I went hard. And I'm already going moderately hard.
Mm-hmm.
So they're probably already judging me, but I would literally not go to my max because I'm scared about how other people are going to judge me. I'm suppressing my uniqueness because I'm fearful of how other people are going to view me. And most people wouldn't know that. But today, dude, today I went all out. Today I went psycho. And yeah, people were looking at me and I didn't give a crap, dude. Like, I don't care anymore. I will not suppress my uniqueness. And I hope that you guys do not either. Like, I want to let you guys know that you have been given a gift for a reason. Like, you were made to do great things. Like, you were beautiful, you were loved, and like I speak this to you too, man. Like, you are here for a reason, and you're here for a purpose. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful to experience this, and I hope that everybody else can to be grateful for the opportunity that we've all been given too. And like, man, like we're called to do great things.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Let me see if I got anything else.
Man.
Hope can only exist in the future. It can't be in the past. We went over that. Yeah, the last thing that I thought was very beautiful, and this was actually not a part of the event from Ed. This was actually just from people in the crowd that we went out to dinner with.
Mm-hmm.
Something beautiful. Actually, two things. Two beautiful things that we talked about at dinner with these just amazing people is one was why do we wait for a tribute for our parents for until they die? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, we tell them or we wait to speak about them and how much we love them, how great they are before or after they die. That doesn't make any sense. So what he did for his dad and for his mom was he actually wrote everything.
Living eulogy.
Yeah, living eulogy, and gave it to them for Christmas. And he read it in front of the whole family, said that they were all just crying, and it was amazing. And that connection, that love is worth whatever discomfort you're going to feel. One other thing that was very difficult for me that I've been struggling with is I just try to connect with my dad a lot. And I feel like I'm always like trying to get him to come to me. And I'm like, oh, Dad, let's go out to dinner. Let's do this. Let's do that. And like, I really try to push him towards his dreams. And I'm like, Dad, like, you can do anything and like accomplish anything. And I like have these big dreams for him, but that's me putting my expectation on what I think he should be. And one thing that Gerard Adams actually told me while we were eating dinner is like, it is so simple. It's crazy I didn't see it. Like, why don't you go to him and meet him where he's at? Go to his house, watch a movie with him. And I just never thought of that. And so it's so crazy to me, like how simple a concept can be, but I was so blind to it. And yeah, so that would just be two lessons that I learned just from eating dinner is like, your parents are meaningful. Tell them while they're here and meet them where they're at. They don't need to be anything. Like, we have these high expectations of what our parents should be and who we believe that they should be. And they should come to us because they're the parent and they should love us and stuff. And remember that they haven't been through the same things that we've been through. They're not, they don't even know how to relay the emotions that they feel maybe in the best way because they haven't been taught. They haven't learned this stuff. And so remember that too, is like your parents do love you. They love you. They might not be able to show you the way that you want to receive it because they haven't been through the work that maybe you've been through or have the emotional intelligence. But I know that they do care and they do love you in whatever way. And I know it's difficult for some people to hear because I know they probably don't believe that their parents love them, but I know that they do.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us have versions of trauma with almost all of our parents because limiting beliefs are stemmed from your childhood. And a lot of times it's just stemmed from their limiting beliefs and they're just passing them on unknowingly. Mm-hmm. One of the things is, people are doing the best with what they have. Mm-hmm. And that means so many things for different people. For my parents, they were raised a completely different way than I was. And most generations, they try to give their children what they didn't have. And sometimes that even shows up as physical abuse, like there's a lot of people are hurting, but you have to remember people are doing the best with what they have or what they think they have. Mm-hmm. I'm so thankful for everything that my parents have done for me. It's not that they've done to me, it's what they've done for me. Even my biological father leaving at 2 years old, it made me realize that someday I'm going to be such a present father. All of the things that my parents have had to struggle through, I'm so thankful for. Because if I wouldn't have had that, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't be the one in my family in the way that I am. Struggle is how you can create true success. If you can get through the pain, through the struggle, learn to forgive and understand that it truly happened for a reason, happened for you to become who God meant you to be. It all happens how it's supposed to. So allow yourself grace in the moment and understand that your greatness is being called upon you and you deserve and need to step into it, not only just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Yeah.
And God will, it's one of my favorite verses. God uses all things for the good of those who love him. And so that's what we talk about, is that, that's what you're talking about, is that we went through this stuff so we can relate, so we can help, so we can love, and so we can be the people who are not going to repeat this.
Yes.
We can help other people to not repeat it, even if their family hasn't repeated it. So, yeah. Do you have any last things as you want?
Yeah, I guess just quickly last, who will you fight for? In your life, who will you fight for? Earn this life.
Yeah. With that, one other thing that they said with who you fight for, change your alarm clock to their name.
Yeah.
That was powerful. Whoever you're fighting for, whatever you're waking up for, change your alarm clock to their name. Apparently you can name your alarm clock. So every time you see that alarm clock and you want to hit snooze, just know that you're snoozing on who you're fighting for. And I thought that was so powerful.
Yeah. I think it was Ben Newman that was saying this, but he was like, even if you have like a physical alarm clock, put it in another room so you have to get up and go to it. So you get out of bed, you get out of comfortable. And then as soon as you see, like he used his mom, he puts his mom's name right on the alarm clock. So, just set your environment up to win, because your environment will dictate your future. And you get to design it however you want. So if that means you put the person that means the most to you in your life, the person that sacrificed the most for you to even have the privilege to be here, then do it. Whatever it takes. And that's fully your discretion and your decision. But build your environment to dictate your future success, and so you can live in your greatness and your uniqueness.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to go to the bathroom really bad, so we're going to have to end this soon. So last thing that I really want to say, and there's a lot more that we got from it, honestly. We only went into mostly Ed's talk, and so I apologize. Maybe we will do more parts of this. And if you guys like this, please let us know. Reach out to us if we can help with anything. If there's anything you guys are struggling through, any way that either of us can help. I know we're both more than willing. So anything that we can do to help you guys, we're here to love and to share and to just give our gifts that God's given us, and you are too. And so I want to just remind you the way that Ed starts off everything, and remind you that you were meant to do something great with your life, and you have been given these gifts for a reason. And my hope and my prayer, honestly, is that you use them and you will create a ripple effect that will change this world. And I really believe that you have the power to do it. Whoever you are listening, you have the gifts, use them.
It's beautiful.